सबको नमस्कार, गुड इवनिंग एवरीवन। डॉक्टर राजकुमार शर्मा डॉक्टर नहीं है तो आप बन जाएंगे कभी। And all the vice chancellors, principals, academicians who are here for this very interesting and important event which has been going on. And All India Council for Robotics and Automation, AICRA, is a very important organization, especially in the light of the changing scenario that is happening world over. Number one, in terms of Industry 4.0, which started off about not a decade ago, maybe 6-7 years ago, from 2015 onwards, started in Germany and then took off in all other countries of the world. Today we all talk about sensors, we talk about artificial intelligence, we talk about Internet of Things, machine learning, robotics, automation, drones, augmented reality, virtual reality, metaverse, which is also a new thing which is coming in. All of this requires a different kind of skill sets amongst our students. And just Rajkumar Sharma just now mentioned about centers of excellence being established in more than 22 universities and colleges, and about 700 schools are also being considered for participation, maybe increasing to 2,000, maybe tomorrow 10,000, 1 lakh, and so on. And this is necessary today because the future jobs are all going to be on these skill sets. And if you don't catch up right now, we will be left behind. As far as our IT industry is concerned, we are all aware that from late 80s and 90s, starting from Tata Consulting Services, which is the first such organization in IT sector, to then Infosys, Wipro, Cognizant, you name it, and all of them are there in the field, created huge manpower in terms of service sector in IT, and India is recognized today as an IT superpower because of that. But when it comes to hardware, we don't even have a hard foundry. This year in the budget, the government has announced 76,000 crore rupees for education in chip design, chip manufacturing, both from the front end to the end, packaging, applications, and all of that. And that bus which we missed earlier, we should not miss any of the buses. So Industry 4.0 is still going on. We have also, in the case of ICT, from 4G to 5G, and it's very heartening that IIT Madras, IIT Hyderabad together created our own standard for 5G-I, and which has been recognized by the world over. Why 5G? If the world is starting to think about 6G, we should be the first ones to start. Same is the case with robotics and automation. I just suddenly recollect my old days. Today we are talking about robotics and automation as an important topic. But when I went for my master's degree in Indian Institute of Science, there was a department called School of Automation. I never understood at that time what is automation. I'm talking about 1980. But some institute, it was already in existence for about a decade. So it means people thought much beyond the times in order to start a school of automation, which is nothing but computer science and its application in terms of creating automation, which also involves different types of sensors, the connectivity between them, and how do we take it forward. And that's why this society, which is for both robotics and automation, is going to be very significant in creating new jobs, in starting new startups. And there are huge opportunities in almost all fields. Many times we feel maybe in education sector, what is its role? There are many things which robotics and automation can create by using a lot of data in making students to learn these subjects using AI. And AI-based learning is going to be a very powerful tool which is going to happen. So robotics has a role there also. As far as difficult situations in industry, maybe in terms of atomic energy, where human beings cannot go because of the safety. Certainly robots can do that job. That is known to all of us. But when there are fire hazards, human beings, despite all of that new technologies which are available for dousing this fire, there are risks which are involved for the firemen. Can we send a robot and then clear off the whole thing? Can we bring out the people who are stranded there? Here is where the robotics will play a very important role in terms of safety, security, and all of that. When I say security, it is not only security in terms of physical security, by using scans, by using cameras, and identifying the likely culprits and therefore take precautionary measures, but also in terms of cyber security, there can be a role to be played. So I think when we talk about automation, it is there in almost all fields. In agriculture, where can we increase our productivity by using robotics and automation? What kind of diseases are likely to come and how we can send in signals and then make way in order to create better products out of that. In factories, cars, aeroplanes, space science, everywhere there is a role for this. And therefore, preparing our students in all these courses is important. So again, there are 2-3 domains which are significant and important. And the new national education policy talks about several of these issues. Number one, we need to think about multidisciplinary education. Although robotics and automation may be more technical-oriented, technology-oriented, how it can also take into its stride humanities and social sciences. Very important, because some of these applications, even though they will be useful, may not be adopted by people because of sociological considerations, psychological considerations, and therefore, how do we create products which are useful? And when the women power was here on the dais just now, Madam also said about the cars where the designs are not meant for women, actually. And therefore, the suggestion which is given is more and more women being in the science is also important. And that's why creating that interest amongst girl students right in their school days, motivating them, inspiring them, telling them stories of women who have done great achievements despite all odds. Today there is a lot of empowerment. We talk about access, equity, which was not talked about. Despite that, many women made their way. And that is what is required to be the inspirational stories. So multi-dimensional or multidisciplinary approach to our education. Along with that, the multiple exit, multiple entry is very important. And again, linking with women. Many times, someone is doing a graduation or a post-graduation, suddenly the marriage happens because of certain compulsions, and also a child is born, you get a break, both in the job as well as in education. Someone goes out in some form, they were all going empty-handed. And today, the policy enables, empowers that you carry those credits, you can get a certificate and be in employable position. But if you want to come back, maybe a couple of years down the line when you settle down your problems, it was like I famously call it as a snake and ladder game. सांप सीढ़ी का खेल होता है. अब सीढ़ी में चढ़ के जाते एक तरफ ऊपर तक और सांप का मुंह आ जाता है तो नीचे गिर जाते. वैसे ही एक जो 4 साल का कोर्स है उसमें से 2 साल हो गए, बाहर गए, कोई हाथ में खाली हाथ जाएंगे, वापस आना चाहते हो तो फिर फर्स्ट ईयर से क्लास स्टार्ट करना पड़ता था. तो आज वो नौबत नहीं आएगी, क्योंकि हमने कहा है कि सेकेंड ईयर हो गया है तो आप थर्ड ईयर में 2 साल 3 साल के बाद भी आके ज्वाइन कर सकते हैं. एंड दिस इज ए हाईली एम्पावरिंग मूवमेंट एक्चुअली. इट इज नॉट जस्ट फॉर वुमेन बट आल्सो फॉर several people from rural areas whose income suddenly dashed down and therefore they cannot pay the fees. They want to do some job for some time and come back. It is not just for women, for all variety of citizens. This is an empowering movement in the new national education policy. It also talks about skilling is very, very important. When we talk about skills in our institutions, when we talk about vocational education, it was always looked down upon. We all want our degrees, bachelors of arts, bachelor of commerce, bachelor of science. But whereas whether you get a job or not, they want these degrees for various reasons because of some kind of a prestige that is associated with that. Whereas someone who does a ITI in plumbing and maybe getting not only job, can become a plumbing contractor and earn huge amount of money, is not respected in society. I think that is another area where this skilling is going to be introduced right from school, right from 6th standard when you start working by your own hands. There are two very important things which will happen. You will have a variety of skill sets in which you get training, and one of those in which you have liking, you find that it is more interesting to you, you start pursuing that. That is creating awareness. This is the first part. Secondly, the difficulty involved in doing work by hand is realized, and even if you become an engineer, postgraduate engineer and all that, you know the worker on the shop floor, the kind of difficulties that one has to go through. Same is the case in the case of agriculture. Someone who is working in the field, in the rains, in the sun, the kind of hardship that one goes through, unless a student of 7th, 8th standard is made to stand in the sun and then do some agriculture work or horticulture work, will not realize this. So value for dignity of labor indirectly will get into the psyche in terms of DNA of that particular student, and which will help in the long way. And some of them will become extremely good technocrats who will realize right kind of design can come from out of experiential learning. And in our case, we have also started talking about mandatory internship in all domains of education. It is not just in medicine, where mandatory internship was already there for a long time, also in architecture education, but in all other forms of education, we just complete our theoretical knowledge. Maybe some laboratory classes are there, but we become graduates and start getting into the field with hardly any knowledge about actual practical applications. And when degree programs are embedded with internship, part of the program, you go into an industry, maybe a small scale, large scale, maybe a startup, you get first-hand information about the challenges that are there, the difficulties that are there, the kind of work that goes on, and such students will certainly be not declared as not employable by CII, NASSCOM, and FICCIs of the world. And that's why this mandatory internship program of at least 6 months duration, which we started in engineering, is to be taken forward, not only in engineering or technical domain, but even in arts, commerce, science. A commerce graduate, if he goes to a bank or an insurance company for 6 months and works, he will know how to do several things which otherwise in a theoretical, commerce college or arts college would not have been taught to him. And therefore, skilling is another domain which has been integrated, and very easy movement from one domain to the other is another area when we talk about multiple entry exit. Someone getting into vocational education can get into a general education. Someone from general education can get into vocational education. Someone from arts, commerce, science can also think about doing someday engineering. Is all possibilities which have been opened up. These are all gates opened up. It is up to the institutions and universities to create mechanisms for their entry and exit in terms of creating excellent bridge courses which will help them to manage when they are going out. Maybe sometimes if they don't want to return, how do we make them employable through giving some bridge courses which are useful for them in the society. And if someone is entering in with a different types of a background, what all is required to pursue that education forward, prerequisite courses are to be taught. This is what innovativeness has to come in from our education system. And to help all of this, the SWAYAM, which is a mandatory course, 20%, 40% being allowed by the universities, and the academic bank of credits will empower students to take courses from the best possible institutions in the country. Even though you are staying in a very remote place, the best faculty, maybe from JNU, maybe from Delhi University, maybe from IIT Madras, some student can take a course and can get it credited to your account. I think these are very empowering moments for all of us. And along with that, the innovation. This particular domain of robotics and automation has immense opportunities for innovation. And if these innovations are taken forward, they can convert themselves into an entrepreneurial journey by creating these startups, and these startups will create jobs. So jobs are not to be looked for from the big industries, but our college students, university students, while they are in the institutions, they can think about creating their own startups. Professors can create their own startups, and this was not allowed earlier. This is all opened up. We allow faculty members sabbatical leave. Why can't students also get sabbatical leave for 1 year duration and try out something which they have got in their idea? If they succeed, well and good, they can become the new Apples or the Microsofts of the world. Otherwise, they can come back and complete their education and go for jobs. And while doing all of this, there are chances of failure. You know, all startups, if you look at worldwide, not more than about 7-8% of them succeed. In fact, in most countries, it is 5%. So if 95% of them are going to fail, we should not worry too much about the failures, but lessons to be learned from that failure, and don't repeat those failures and move on. You know, that is the life. And that's what we want to encourage our students. I think professors have a habit of talking too much, so I will stop here. Thank you very much for inviting me on this very important occasion. And all those who are going to be awarded, I don't know the names, the people around, but my best wishes and congratulations for all of them. And those who could not make it, best wishes for their next journey, and maybe next year they will get the award. Thank you very much.